I think oftentimes one of the biggest questions that people ask is, how did you become a filmmaker? But I like to rephrase that question to say, what makes you a filmmaker? Let's talk about that. First of all, I'm just gonna put this out there as a hot take. Whether you use cine lenses, whether you use the latest gear, those are not the things that make you a filmmaker. Using autofocus does not make you any less of a filmmaker. And there are four things that I want to share with you today that are quite controversial, but I think you find them interesting. The first one is your story is your voice. You need to have a story that you want to tell, and you need to be able to tell this in your voice. It might take you a while to be able to figure out what that voice is. For me, one of the stories that I'm working on right now is a series that I call Now That We Are Adults. And it's just a couple of projects of where I get people with varying life experiences and put them together to tell their stories in a way where they introspect and reflect on all the things that had happened before to them as kids, and now they get to answer those questions now that they're adults. And I find that this is very unique, and it's something that I've wanted to work on for the longest time. Now, I have other stories that I would also want to tell, whether that's in the form of a short film, a narrative, a documentary, a music video, and all the other things like that. I think it's important to also say that the story doesn't necessarily have to be yours. It doesn't have to be from you. It could be someone else's story, but you as a filmmaker, you need to be able to tell that story. So basically, your story is your voice. Find a story, make the story, tell a story. That's what makes you a filmmaker. The second thing that makes you a filmmaker, and this is more on the technical side of things, is that you need to be able to capture light. Literally, that is what the camera is seeing. The camera sensor is capturing photons, basically light, onto the sensor. So you need to be able to understand the technical side of this to be able to capture light. And if you're not able to understand the technical side or do it, maybe team up and collaborate with other people who can do that. In this case, a cinematographer, a DOP, a camera operator, someone who knows how to capture light, because ultimately, whatever the camera is seeing, the shot that you are setting up, this beautiful image in front of you, is basically just light information that will be captured onto the camera sensors. If you're not able to capture light, you don't have a film. And if you don't have a film, you are not a filmmaker. You need to know it. I mean, literally, filmmaker. The film, you have to make it. If you do not know how to make the film, then you are not a filmmaker. Yeah. The next thing that makes you a filmmaker is to know that it's not about the camera. Now, I did a video before about the things that you can do to make a cheap budget mirrorless camera to look very filmic, to have the look. And you can watch that video up on the channel. But we're in a time when camera companies are trying to pitch this latest gear, the newest invention, the newest tech out there so that they can get you to spend money. Now, I am not an advocate for buying the newest technology. No, it's about the other things that go into it: the light, the production design, the direction of the film, the composition, the location. Ooh, that's something that you can never forget. If you have a location that is beautiful and grand, I'm telling you, 50% of your film is done. The camera is probably one of the last factors that you should consider, but people have placed so much significance on cameras, and you see people being, oh, I'm this brand loyal, I'm this and that. No, whatever camera tells the story is what you would use. And maybe that's an Arri Alexa, or maybe it's a Red Komodo, or it's a Sony a7 IV, or it's a GoPro, or it's your iPhone. Whatever camera you have to tell your story, tell it. But the camera is not the most important thing. The camera is just a tool. It is not what necessarily makes or breaks the film, contextually, if you know what I mean. And the last thing that I want to say about what makes you a filmmaker is the ability to do this continuously. You have to do this repetitively. The power of repetition in filmmaking cannot be overestimated. What makes you a filmmaker is you build capabilities the more you do this. So make 10 films, make 20 films, make 30 films. The level of expertise that you have at 10 is going to be different from the one you have at 20 and 30 and so forth and so on. The better you start to find your voice, the more you start to figure out how to tell your stories, the more you figure out the better way to capture life, the more you start to realize, oh, you know what? I actually don't need the latest cameras to be able to do this because I can work with what I have. So the power of repetition, it's just like everything, even in basketball. I remember it was one of the quotes where Michael Jackson, was it Michael Jordan or Kobe? Where Michael Jordan said that everyone sees the final shot that won me the championship, but behind that one shot, there's 1,000 missed shots that I've worked on in the gym. And I've done that repetitively every single day. So the power of repetition in filmmaking cannot be overemphasized, which is why I try to tell people, if you want to be a filmmaker, you need to make films. Whether it's like something for YouTube, make it. Whether it's something for your Instagram, make it. Whether it's something for you for LinkedIn, any of your socials, make it. But you need to make something to be a filmmaker. And I'm going to say it again. Using autofocus does not make you any less of a filmmaker.